My wife called, her voice already trembling with remorse. Honey, I messed up? I secretly took your Maybach out and crashed into a Porsche. Now you have to come clean up my mess again. She obediently stood in the corner, waiting for her punishment. I took off my glasses and spoke firmly. Even kids have to face consequences when they do something wrong. Her face instantly flushed red. Every time I removed my glasses, she knew exactly what to do: come over and kiss me. But the moment I started unfastening my watch, she quickly pleaded, "Don't. I'm a nationally renowned lawyer who's never lost a case. I'm often invited on TV as a legal analyst. And each appearance draws no shortage of female fans. In my field, my looks are considered striking, to say the least. At the peak of my career, I married the woman I'd always wanted. Today, she'd only gone out in the Maybach to buy fresh ingredients for dinner. But because she was still an inexperienced driver, she accidentally hit a Porsche changing lanes. And at that very moment, I was in the middle of an important meeting. Her voice crackled through the phone, choked with tears. Honey, I've been in an accident. I froze for 2 seconds, then stood up abruptly. Sorry, everyone, something's come up at home. Let's pause the meeting here. As I grabbed my blazer and hurried out, I instructed her over the phone. Don't touch the car anymore. Just stay somewhere safe and wait for me. I was terrified she'd panic if left alone. I sped off in my car, nearly flooring the gas pedal through the fuel tank. When I arrived, I found her shivering pitifully by the roadside shrubs, while the Porsche owner was shouting insults at her. I rushed over and draped my coat around her shoulders. She bit her lip, ready to throw herself into my arms. But I frowned and gently straightened her posture. Stay put, we'll deal with this later. The Porsche owner, who'd been roaring angrily just moments before, immediately switched to a fawning tone when he saw me. Oh, it's Lionel Stark, no worries at all, my insurance will cover everything. After sorting out the mess, I helped her into the car. On the drive home, I stayed silent, and the air inside grew heavy. She didn't say a word either, quietly following me into the house. The moment we stepped inside, she instinctively went to stand in the corner, her usual punishment spot. In the past, whenever this happened, she'd eventually pout, flip the script, and accuse me of domestic abuse, forcing me to apologize. But this time was different. I was genuinely angry. God only knew how worried I'd been. How many times have I told you not to drive out on your own? Why won't you listen? She mumbled softly, I just wanted to go to the seafood market to buy something fresh. Didn't you say recently you were craving seafood? Seeing my silence, her voice grew even quieter. Then, sniffling, she wrapped her arms around me. I was wrong, punish me however you want. I gently tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear and said softly, the housekeeper can handle meals. All I want is for you to be happy. Her cheeks turned pink as she whispered, I'm only happy when I get to cook for you. After all these years together. She still couldn't hide her blush whenever she said something sweet. I couldn't help but laugh, and she knew it too. The moment I smiled, she understood the danger had passed. Immediately, she wrapped her arms around my neck and nuzzled her cheek against my ear like a little cat. If she were a cat, she'd be a chinchilla, adorable, utterly irresistible, impossible to say no to. Ellipsis. That night, she playfully whined, Lionel Stark, you're bullying the weak, I'm suing you. I pointed to the scratch marks on my back in the mirror and chuckled. Let me get a medical evaluation first, then we'll see who's suing whom. Her face burned crimson, and she threw a pillow at me. Get out. I pulled her close and kissed her plump, red lips lightly. I'm hungry again, how about one more round? She burst into giggles. You're crazy? Suddenly, a noise came from the living room. She panicked and pushed me away. Is it Mom? I slipped on my robe and went to check. It's fine, go back to sleep. My mom walked in, arms full of bags, and looked up. Taylor still asleep? I made soup. Drink it while it's hot, that's when it tastes best. Taylor had been exhausted last night, so I told Mom, let her sleep a bit longer. Mom lowered her voice on purpose. You two shouldn't overwork yourselves. While you're still young, hurry up and give me a grandchild. I coughed awkwardly. She's still young, no need to rush. Mom wasn't fooled. Young? She's 22, and you're almost 30. If you have the baby soon, I'll still have the energy to help take care of it. Just as I was about to cave, Taylor opened the door and stepped out. Mom, why didn't you text me so I could come greet you? She hugged Mom as she spoke. Mom scolded her sweetly but beamed with joy. Oh, my Taylor's finally awake. I brought soup. Drink it while it's hot. I breathed a sigh of relief, watching her cuddle up to Mom. Taylor finished the entire bowl of nourishing soup and praised it. Mom's soup is still the best. Meanwhile, I stared uneasily at the bowl of ultra-rich medicinal tonic in front of me and frowned. Mom, please don't go through all that trouble making this again. Every time I drink it, I get a nosebleed. Mom looked serious. This time I adjusted the recipe, removed a few strong herbs. Don't worry, you won't bleed this time. I've never liked the taste of herbal medicine, so I glanced at Taylor for help. She gave me a gentle smile and coaxed. It's Mom's love, just drink it. Knowing I had no escape, I pinched my nose and downed it in one gulp. My whole breath reeked of herbs. Mom gathered the dishes, satisfied. That's right, drink plenty to nourish your body, and give me a grandchild soon. When she left, she'd also left behind a stash of herbal soup ingredients. I nodded politely to wrap things up, but the second I closed the door, blood began dripping steadily from my nose. Taylor's eyes filled with concern. She quickly stuffed tissues into my nostrils and gently pinched my nose shut. Her tender gaze undid me. I scooped her up into my arms. She gasped in surprise. Stark, what are you doing? I've been overnourished, I murmured. Time to cool down. I've always been swamped with work, often pulling late hours. That day, Taylor texted me, saying she wanted to bring me dinner, something she'd cooked herself. Right at mealtime, she showed up at my office while all my colleagues were eating. You're all having lunch? I made a lot. Everyone's welcome to share. The moment Oliver saw it was Taylor. His face lit up. Sis, you actually came. I've been dying for your cooking. Without waiting for permission, he popped open the bento box and immediately grabbed a piece of beef. I stepped out of my office just then, and the sight of her instantly melted away all my exhaustion. Behind me, my coworkers burst into laughter. Now that's real nourishment. I turned around to see Oliver had already sneaked open my pot of restorative soup. I walked over and said coolly, "Done with your work, huh? Want to stay late for overtime?" Oliver snapped to attention, trying, and failing, to suppress a grin, and quickly handed the pot back. My bad, boss, here's your soup, please take care of yourself. I led Taylor into my office. Glancing into the bowl, I spotted a chunk of angel, a kidney-strengthening beef stew. I raised an eyebrow. You really think I need this? Panicked, she waved her hands. No, Mom just said it helps with fatigue. She ducked her head, mumbling so softly she practically wanted to vanish into the floor. I teased her on purpose. Oh yeah? And then what? Watching her flustered expression, I couldn't help but laugh, my mood instantly lifted. She let out a tiny sigh. If you don't like it, just pour it out. Then, I smiled and downed the whole thing in one go. I've already drunk it, don't go crying about it later. Ellipsis. I got so absorbed in work I lost track of time. Taylor, seeing how focused I was, quietly stayed out of my way, and curled up to rest on the small sofa in my office. When I finally finished, I looked over at her peacefully sleeping face, so sweet, so serene, and couldn't resist pulling her gently into my arms. I don't know how long she'd been asleep when, suddenly, she began sobbing in her dream. The nightmare jolted Taylor awake, her hair soaked with sweat. Another bad dream? I held her close, gently rubbing her back to calm her down. She slowly settled, but her whole body still trembled. Her arms tightened around my waist, her face buried in my chest as she inhaled my familiar scent. Only then did she feel safe again. I dreamed about that day again. I pushed open the front door and saw blood everywhere. I ran toward my parents' room but tripped on the rug. When I looked up, they were lying motionless under the bed. Their eyes empty, unfocused. I knew losing her parents had shattered her. Even after all this time, she still had nightmares. Don't be afraid, it's all over now. Maximus is dead. Her fragile body shuddered slightly. We'd met because of that man. He dragged Taylor into a nightmare with no escape. It all started with the New York family massacre 5 years ago. That year, Taylor had just turned 17 and was preparing for college entrance exams. Because her school held evening classes, she'd luckily avoided the tragedy. Maximus had broken into their home to steal valuables. When her parents caught him, he brutally murdered them. But he didn't stop there. Spotting Taylor's photo on her study desk, he hid and waited for her to come home. When she opened the door and saw the bloodbath and his wild, menacing eyes glaring from the window, she screamed and scrambled away in terror. Luckily, a neighbor heard the commotion and called the police, saving her life. The trial that followed was anything but smooth. Maximus flatly denied premeditated murder, pretending innocence and admitting only to theft. He even claimed Taylor's parents had attacked him first, and that he'd only overreacted in self-defense, accidentally causing their deaths. Taylor broke down in court, sobbing, "That's a lie. My parents were lifelong vegetarians who chanted sutras every day. How could they ever hurt anyone?" Heartbroken and desperate, she wandered the streets alone, until she happened to see my advertisement poster. Back then, I was already a well-known lawyer. My office constantly flooded with clients begging for help. She searched everywhere before finally tracking me down. She hadn't dared to hope. I charged exorbitant fees and rarely took on new cases. To her surprise, I agreed immediately and didn't ask for a single cent. Consider it pro bono legal aid. Hearing that, she burst into tears. Later, she told me, "The moment you said you wouldn't take payment, I decided I'd spend my whole life repaying your kindness." In the end, we won the case. Maximus was sentenced to death and executed immediately. But even so, Taylor was left an orphan. I assumed that after the trial, our paths would never cross again. Yet the image of that ponytailed girl, bare-faced, pure as morning dew, crying like a rain-drenched pear blossom, kept appearing in my dreams. I realized I was utterly, hopelessly in love with her. But it wasn't ideal. She was 7 years younger than me and still in high school. Still, I couldn't bear to leave her alone. Every evening after her night classes, I'd quietly follow her in my car, watching her walk alone into the orphanage, my heart heavy with worry. Eventually, I had a serious talk with my mother. Moved by Taylor's tragic story, Mom stepped forward to formally adopt her. From then on, I started coming home more often. As her college entrance exams approached, to make her evening commute easier, I arranged for her to move into a downtown apartment closer to school. The unit had a master bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. I immediately offered it to her. She looked slightly embarrassed, murmuring softly, "Thank you," before quickly shutting the door. I, too, worried that showing too much care might make her uncomfortable. I always tried to keep my distance from her, acting only as a caring older brother. Until my mom called me one day. Taylor dropped more than 100 ranks on her latest exam. Before everything happened at home, she was always in the top 3 of her entire grade. A drop like this? It's definitely psychological. I went to talk to her. She kept her head down, twisting the hem of her shirt tightly between her fingers. Silent. "Taylor, failing one test isn't the end of the world. Don't put so much pressure on yourself." I gave up several vacations and spent extra time tutoring her. Night after night, under the soft glow of the desk lamp, the faint scent of her long, waterfall-like hair drifted toward me. But I forced myself to suppress my feelings. Thanks to her strong foundation, her grades gradually stabilized, and for the first time in a long while, a rare smile returned to her face. When she saw her report card, she threw her arms around me, beaming. And in that moment, I admitted to myself, I was completely lost to her. "I'm definitely getting into Harvard School of Art," she declared. "I'm going to become an illustrator." I breathed a sigh of relief. She was finally stepping out of the shadow of her trauma. Sometimes, when she didn't have evening self-study classes, she'd stay home and cook dinner, waiting for me. "Stark, I made dinner. Let's eat together." Just a simple meal, 3 savory dishes and a light soup. Yet it tasted strangely, wonderfully delicious. "Good?" she asked, looking up at me with hopeful eyes. I nodded. "Delicious." She was so easily pleased. Hearing that, she happily ate a whole extra bowl of rice that night. Between us, something tender and powerful began to blossom. My mom accidentally discovered passages in Taylor's diary, notes written like those of a love-struck teenager, and called me aside to talk. Taylor's a good girl, but the age gap between you two is too big. From now on, don't read her diary anymore. Let's just pretend we never knew about this. I replied calmly, I know my limits. From that day on, I deliberately kept even more distance. I took on more overtime, buried myself deeper in work. And shamefully, I didn't pay enough attention to her. By college entrance exam season, she underperformed and missed her dream school. I don't deserve to go to Harvard School of Art. I don't deserve to be an illustrator. I don't deserve any of the kindness everyone's shown me. The moment she saw her scores, she completely broke down, locked herself in her room, refusing to eat or drink. Afraid she might do something reckless, I used my key to open the door. Moonlight spilled into the room. There she sat, curled in the corner, sobbing uncontrollably. My heart ached. Taylor, if you want, I can take you abroad to study. You've already abandoned me, haven't you? Just go, I don't want to see you. She hurled a pillow at me. I could only sigh. I've never abandoned you, I'd do anything to see you happy. But, do you truly want to be with me? When she packed her bags and tried to leave, I blocked the doorway. Don't go. She kept her head down, avoiding my eyes. I've troubled you long enough. You should have your own life. I gripped the suitcase handle and pulled it firmly from her grasp. Don't say things like that. I mean it. She fought back tears and tugged at the suitcase again. I held on tightly, refusing to let go. She finally looked up at me, defiant, eyes glistening. In that instant, all my resolve crumbled. I leaned down and kissed her. Her whole body trembled. It was her first kiss. I wanted my love to pull her out of the darkness. I often told her, you don't need to do anything. Just be happy, that's enough. Slowly, she grew more cheerful, more playful. She loved leaning on me, even though she was perfectly capable of handling things herself. Whenever I was around, she'd instantly turn into the helpless little girl. She could tear open heavy cardboard boxes barehanded, yet in front of me, she could never twist open a water bottle cap. She could tap dance in heels, but with me nearby, she'd sigh dramatically about being tired, just so I'd carry her home. That sweet dependence only made me more certain I couldn't live without her. Every time she said, "What would I do without you?" her eyes shimmered with tenderness and longing. I'd pull her close and kiss her cheek. "What would I do without you?" She took meticulous care of me. Kept the house spotless, cooked nourishing soups, made sure every meal was complete. Pressed my shirts crisp and neatly folded. Even laid out my daily underwear without fail. I never knew where my clothes were because she handled everything. Proudly, she'd declare, "See, you can't live without me anymore. Turns out, being needed like this really does make you happy." Sometimes, looking at her smooth, fair skin and healthy, rosy cheeks, I couldn't believe this was the same 7-year-old girl who once sat alone in the classroom corner, quietly weeping. Early that morning, Taylor was already awake when I opened my eyes. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. "You're up? You had that dream about your parents again, didn't you? You were talking in your sleep all night." She nuzzled gently into my chest. "Yeah, sorry, I kept you from sleeping well." "Don't say something so silly. I'll take the day off and take you to visit them." We drove out to the countryside, to the cemetery. Wildflowers bloomed across the hills. In front of her parents' graves, she squeezed my hand. "Mom, Dad, don't worry. Stark's taken such good care of me. I'm well fed, healthy, never lacking anything. I'm really happy." I held her tightly and kissed the top of her head. In that quiet moment, I thought to myself, if we can just have peace like this, it's more than enough. After dropping Taylor off at home, I got a call from the law office on the way back. "Go to work, don't worry about me. I'll rest a bit and be fine," she said. I hesitated, but she took my hand and smiled. "Really, I've got this. All right, I'll drop you at the apartment gate, then head in." I waved goodbye and waited until she was safely inside before leaving. Back at the office, my intern Taylor rushed over. Lionel Stark, I'm treating the whole team to dinner tonight. You're coming, right? I checked my watch. I'd planned to go home for dinner with Taylor and was about to decline. But then I remembered Taylor was a former student of my mentor, the very person who'd recommended her to our firm. So I nodded. I texted Taylor to say I wouldn't be home for dinner. At the dinner celebration, my mentor was also there and insisted I drink a few rounds. I drove here, I gently protested. Taylor immediately filled my glass. Don't worry, Stark, I'll get you home safely tonight. Just then, my phone buzzed. I reached for it, but Taylor snatched it away. Stark, stop checking your phone, relax and drink. My colleagues chimed in. Yeah, tonight, you're drinking with all of us. My phone buzzed again. Taylor reached to grab my phone again, but I caught a glimpse of the screen. It was Taylor. I stopped her and answered immediately. Hello? On the other end, her voice came through in choked sobs. Stark, why did you take so long to answer? I almost died. My heart clenched. What happened? Where are you? Please come quickly. I'm so scared. Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and bolted out of the dinner. At the accident scene, the front of my Maybach was completely crushed, the hood nearly torn off. Taylor stood trembling by the roadside. The moment she saw me, she threw herself into my arms. I'm sorry, I've ruined your car again. I held her tightly, as if I could fuse her into my very bones. God only knew how terrified I'd been. It's okay, Taylor, the car means nothing. All that matters is that you're safe. Through her tearful words, I finally learned what had happened. After I dropped her off at her apartment complex, a man had secretly followed her. He pulled a knife, forced her into the car, and made her drive away from the parking lot. That man had once come to me as a client. The exact kind of heartless person I'd flatly refused to represent. I never imagined he'd be so unhinged as to use Taylor to blackmail me into defending him. Luckily, my girl was clever. The moment he took control, she started planning her escape. When she spotted a late-night barbecue stand by the road, she suddenly swerved and deliberately crashed into a utility pole to draw attention. She cried until her face was soaked like a rain-drenched pear blossom. In that moment, I truly thought I was going to die. I couldn't hold back anymore. I unbuckled my seatbelt, jumped out of the car, and while shouting for help from passers-by, wrapped her tightly in my arms. You almost died? I almost lost my wife. Thank God, thank heaven and earth, she was unharmed. If anything had happened to her, I honestly don't know how I could have gone on living. The man was arrested. He begged me repeatedly, pleading for me to defend him and cover up his crimes. But given my principles and my character, how could I possibly do that? I've never once looked twice at morally bankrupt cases. I just never expected this one would drag Taylor into danger. I blamed myself deeply. That very night, I called the office and demanded they prepare criminal charges. I was determined to make sure he spent the rest of his life behind bars. Taylor gently stroked my chest, trying to comfort me. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm fine. And if something had happened, you'd never forgive yourself for the rest of your life, would you? That's just the kind of man I am. I might tease her or scold her myself. But if anyone else so much as lays a finger on her, I'll make them pay tenfold. Since she'd just been in an accident and had a few new bruises, I insisted on taking her to the hospital for a full checkup. When my mom heard the news, she rushed over and immediately smacked me twice in anger. I told you to be more careful. You keep making enemies everywhere. Don't let Taylor suffer because of your recklessness. Seeing me get scolded, Taylor's heart ached. Mom, he's not being reckless, he just understands the world without playing its games. That's exactly why I love him. Mom couldn't help but laugh, then shot me a look. Only Taylor would ever put up with you. Taylor smiled softly. He's my husband, of course I'll spoil him. She once told me that in this materialistic world, the fact that I could reject tempting offers of money and stay true to my principles was the brightest light about me. Finally, Taylor's art exhibition was held, and it was a success. She was so excited she'd sent me the invitation early, repeating over and over that I absolutely had to come. Lionel Stark, are you free tomorrow at noon to see my little art show? Limited tickets only. How could I possibly miss the rare chance to see works by such a rising artist? Send me the address. When I arrived, I saw her busy greeting guests. So I quietly took a seat by the window and waited. Just then, a stylish young man walked in. Hair tied back with a bandana, high nose bridge, a gleaming nose ring that instantly caught the eye. His entrance drew the attention of nearly every woman in the room. He came straight toward me, sat down across the table, and smiled. "You're Taylor's husband, right? I've seen your photo in her album." "You are?" I paused slightly. He introduced himself smoothly. "I'm Rogers, Taylor's collaborator." I nodded. I heard most of the illustrators attending this exhibition are big names in the industry. Rogers smiled, his handsome face almost sculpted. "Taylor and I have known each other for years. We took art classes together back in high school. If it weren't for her constant encouragement, I never would have gotten into Harvard's School of Art." Hearing that, an alarm bell rang loudly in my head. I remembered, back in high school, Taylor had taken art classes. I'd even once found a love letter in her school bag. Every day, a boy used to wait outside her house on his bike. I'd felt a vague jealousy back then. So I deliberately started driving her to and from school every day. Though that boy still stubbornly trailed behind us. And now, he's still following her? I was deeply unsettled, but kept my composure and called over a server. "You've been talking a lot, you must be thirsty. Want something to drink? How about some green tea?" "No thanks, just plain water is fine. I'm like Taylor, I don't like sweet things." Honestly, the way he kept bringing up Taylor was starting to annoy me. Just then, my girl appeared, eyes sparkling with warmth. "Having such a fun chat, you too?" Her presence instantly eased the tension in my chest. "Taylor." Roger's eyes lit up the moment he saw her. She sat down beside me, and immediately frowned at the coffee in front of me. "You can't drink coffee, it makes your heart race." I deliberately asserted my presence and took a large sip. "It's just a little, coffee helps me stay sharp." Taylor crossed her arms and shot me an annoyed look. Rogers smirked slightly, then gracefully stood up. "I won't disturb you two any longer." Without showing a trace of emotion, Taylor poured me a glass of water and said gently, "Drink more water." I looked up at her and asked slowly, "Rogers, he's that boy from high school who used to chase after you, isn't he? You told me you'd cut off contact with him." We ran into each other by chance at an exhibition later. He knew some of the curators and said he wanted to introduce me to people. So we reconnected as friends. I smiled. "Oh, I see, but it seems to me he still has feelings for you." Honestly, I was just feeling jealous and wanted to tease her a little. But to my surprise, her expression suddenly changed. She looked at me seriously and asked, "Now that you mention it, I've been meaning to ask you. Who is Taylor?" I froze. "She's an intern at the office." "Why?" "Just an intern? 18 months ago, Tuesday. That night you were on a business trip, why didn't you answer my call?" "I'd had too much to drink that night. I called you back the next morning to explain." "Then who did you sleep with that night?" "Oliver." "Who are you trying to fool? I saw a photo on Taylor's phone, of you sleeping in bed." I was stunned. "You, how do you even know Taylor?" "She came to my exhibition earlier. Said she works at your law firm and also loves painting. She even showed me some of her artwork. But while I was scrolling through her photos, I saw that picture. My head spun. That's impossible, there must be some misunderstanding. She said she was the one who helped you back to your room. What excuse do you have now? When did you become this kind of person?" Taylor's face was a mix of disappointment and hurt. She grabbed her handbag and turned to leave. I quickly caught her wrist. "Are you really going to throw another childish tantrum? Stark, don't act like you're still my guardian. You're not my legal guardian anymore." She yanked her hand away and stormed out. I chased after her. "Taylor." But she'd already jumped into her car, revved the engine, and sped off in a cloud of exhaust that stung my eyes. I called her repeatedly, but she kept turning her phone off. Just then, Taylor called. She said there was an urgent matter at the office that needed my immediate attention. I texted Taylor, "Go home, I'll explain everything to you." When I arrived at the office, Taylor was already waiting, holding a stack of documents. Lionel Stark, these files are urgent, you need to review and sign them right away. I set the papers aside and gave her a cold look. Close the door. Once we were alone, I asked flatly, "Did you go looking for Taylor?" Taylor stiffened for a moment, then stammered, I just happened to stop by the exhibition." "What about that photo of me in bed?" Her face went pale, she fumbled for words. I didn't mean to. That night you were on your business trip, you were drunk. And Oliver helped you back to your room. I just took a quick photo as a keepsake. I never thought your wife would see it. But I cropped out part of the image, deleted Oliver from the frame. So it looked like it was just you and me. I suddenly remembered, yes, there was a faint memory of that night. No wonder my girl was so furious. But why did you tell Taylor that you were the one who helped me back? Taylor lowered her head, trembling. I was being foolish, just a silly girl's moment of hope. I understood all too well. Because she was my mentor's former student, I'd always given her the benefit of the doubt, turning a blind eye to her behavior. But now, if I kept her at the firm, Taylor would never feel safe again. Come in tomorrow night to process your resignation. Lionel Stark, I'm sorry. Please, for Master Philip's sake, give me another chance. I didn't answer, I just turned and walked away. Now that the truth was clear, my only priority was getting home to comfort my wife. Ellipsis. The house was pitch black. I called her. It took a long time before she finally answered. I smiled softly. Still not coming home? Are you still mad at me? Stark, you're being a nuisance. I'm busy. My blood ran cold, a chill shot through my chest. We had a secret code, known only to the two of us. If either of us was in danger, we'd use that exact phrase to signal for help. You're being a nuisance, was that code. No matter how badly we fought, we'd never used those words before. I paused for a few seconds, then lowered my voice. Is someone with you? You're being held against your will, aren't you? Yes, only two people, yes, just one man. I'm coming right now, don't be afraid, I'll call the police. No, this friend, his father died. He's heartbroken. I'm just comforting him. I can't get away. It's Rogers, he's doing this to avenge his father. This was the unspoken understanding only we shared. The call ended. I gripped my phone so tightly my palms were slick with sweat. Rogers, that bastard, he'd finally found Taylor. Rogers was Maximus's son. Many years ago, after Maximus was executed, Rogers vanished without a trace. I'd heard he'd been taken in by a welfare home. And I only ever wanted Taylor to have a peaceful, new life. I moved my entire family out of the old city and started fresh somewhere new. Far from every trace of our past. Years passed without incident. I truly believed I'd hidden Taylor well enough. But Rogers, he still clung to his grudge, and at any cost, he'd found her again. Ever since the last time she'd been threatened by someone else, I hadn't felt safe. So I'd secretly installed a tracker in her phone. Now, the signal showed she was at a rundown diner on the outskirts of town. I sped there immediately, calling the police as I drove. Praying my car was fast enough, because I had no idea what that madman might do to her. My car screeched to a halt by the roadside. The restaurant was crumbling, damp and musty, the air thick with decay. I stepped inside and followed fresh footprints in the muddy ground to an abandoned warehouse behind the building. The moment I pushed the door open, I saw Rogers about to assault Taylor. He looked up, surprised to see me, and smirked. Lionel Stark, long time no see. I didn't waste a word. Seeing the terror in Taylor's eyes, my blood boiled. Back then, you warned me. Touch even a single hair on her head, and I'll take your life. Well, I've touched her now, what are you gonna do about it? He laughed, arrogant, cruel, utterly shameless. In the next second, my fist slammed straight into his face. Rogers spat blood and lunged at me. I lifted my leg and kicked him hard in the stomach. He crumpled to the ground. I rushed to Taylor and untied her restraints. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, voice trembling. If you'd been just a minute later, you'd have lost your wife. I pulled her tightly into my arms, my own voice shaking. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. In the distance, police sirens wailed, I exhaled in relief, knowing the immediate danger was over. How did you know I was here? Taylor asked. I put a tracker in your phone, remember? Oh, right, I need to get my phone back, it basically saved my life. She walked over to the table, picked it up, and turned to me with a soft smile. Found it. I smiled back, hands in my pockets. Let's go home. But just as she stepped closer, I caught a flash of cruel triumph on Roger's lips. My heart seized, something was terribly wrong. Boom! A deafening explosion erupted behind Taylor. Metal shattered. A massive steel beam came crashing down, pinning her beneath it. I screamed, but it was already too late. Taylor was rushed to the hospital for emergency surgery. I stood outside the operating room like a ghost. My heart torn to shreds, each beat a fresh agony. My mother knelt on the floor, praying aloud. Oh my God, please protect her, let my daughter-in-law be safe. The image of Taylor, soaked in blood as they wheeled her into surgery, felt like a knife twisting in my chest. From the very first moment I met her, I'd sworn to protect her for life. We'd endured so much just to be together. She'd cried countless nights in the dark. There were times she'd even considered leaving, afraid of burdening me, of making things difficult. But in the end, I brushed aside every difference, ignored every rumor. All those whispers that she only married me for my status, for my money. I treated it all like garbage. Back in college, she kept studying art, refusing to be far from me. Every time I pulled up in the Maybach to pick her up, whispers followed us from behind. She'd always lift her chin proudly, walk straight to me, then whisper playfully in my ear, "Honey, next time, come out and open the door for me, okay? Why, don't you have hands?" She'd pout, adorably indignant. My friends keep saying I'm being kept by some old man. No one believes me when I explain. If you open the door for me, they'll see my husband is young and handsome. I was utterly speechless at her logic. But I always happily agreed. Every time she'd run out of school and leap into my arms, I knew this was the greatest happiness of my life. That's my husband, she'd proudly announce to her friends. Never once shy or hesitant. The girl who once curled up in the shadows had finally left that past behind. All the months and years we'd shared, no one could ever replace her. On our wedding day, I, a man who stands 6 feet 2 inches, actually cried. Taylor stuck out her tongue playfully and told our guests, "Don't laugh, my husband's just really emotional." Right there in front of everyone, we made our vows and became husband and wife. Now, remembering every sweet memory, my heart trembled in fear. What if all that beauty was about to vanish? I begged silently for her to survive. Even if she woke up as a vegetable, I'd care for her for the rest of my life. She'd already suffered enough, witnessing her parents' brutal deaths with her own eyes, becoming an orphan, being threatened by monsters, and now lying gravely injured on the operating table. I'd promised to protect her. Yet I still failed. I buried my face in my hands, my eyes burning hot. My mother saw everything. She patted my shoulder gently. "Stark, Taylor will pull through, don't blame yourself so much." But silently, I thought, I wish it were me lying in that operating room instead. She's always been so afraid of pain, how could she possibly bear this? The OR doors swung open. I shot to my feet and rushed toward the surgeon. Before I could speak, he pulled down his mask and said, "The surgery went very well, you can relax." In that instant, it was as if storm clouds parted across the sky. I let out a long, shuddering breath, and my legs gave out. I sank into the nearest chair, utterly spent. Taylor's perspective. I felt like I was drifting in a void, endless, with no exit in sight. From far away, my parents walked toward me. Their faces were as gentle and kind as I remembered. "Dad, Mom, I miss you so much." I ran to them, sobbing, but my arms closed around nothing but empty air. "Taylor," my mother said softly, "you don't belong here yet. Go back, Stark needs you." I stood helplessly as their figures faded into the distance. Stark must be losing his mind by now. I absolutely couldn't die. I remembered that year, when he first brought me home. After my adoptive parents were brutally murdered, I'd sunk into such despair I didn't want to live. One night, I slit my wrists, watching the red blood flow as tears streamed down my face. Slowly, consciousness slipped away, until I heard his voice, urgent, desperate, calling my name. Through the haze, I saw the long fluorescent lights on the hospital ceiling flickering. In Stark's face, panicked, eyes bloodshot. "Taylor, if you die, I'll never forgive you, not even in the next life." That was the last thing I heard before everything went black. He treasures me like a priceless gem. How could I ever just give up? Now, I forced my heavy eyelids open. The steady beep, beep, of medical machines filled my ears. Someone was holding my hand tightly. I turned my head slightly and saw Stark slumped over the bed, fast asleep. I wanted to reach up and touch his thick hair, but the pain was too sharp to even lift my arm. The faintest sound made him jolt awake. He looked up at me, astonished, then overjoyed. But the scruffy beard on his face startled me. "Stark, why haven't you shaved? You don't look handsome at all like this." I figured that light-hearted jab might ease the tension. Sure enough, the corners of his lips curled into a smile. His warm hand gently stroked mine. "When I'm by your side every single day, do you really think I've had the heart to shave?" He immediately called for the doctor. Only after the checkup confirmed all my vitals were stable did he finally exhale in relief and sink back into his chair. Thinking back to that day, it turned out Rogers had planted explosives in the room long in advance, waiting for the perfect moment to trigger them. Luckily, I wasn't too close to the blast, just hit by a flying steel beam. My injuries were severe, but recoverable. During my hospital stay, my mother-in-law visited often, bringing me 10 herb restorative soups she'd simmered for hours. I honestly couldn't stomach them, so I forced Stark to drink every last drop. He protested at first, but after a mix of my pleading and playful threats, he finally gulped it all down. One day, I teased him. "Your Maybach's probably totaled by now. Why don't you just buy me a BMW Z4 instead?" He nearly spat out his soup, but still nodded. "Fine." I smiled to myself. Now's the perfect time to squeeze my husband a little. "So, can you raise my monthly allowance? Every time I go out with friends, they always treat me, but I never have enough to treat them back. It's kind of embarrassing." "Done," he said firmly, handing me a peeled apple. "Anything else? As long as it's within my power, I'll agree." I tilted my head, thinking, he's my husband, but I shouldn't push my luck too far. "Nope, that's all, thank you, honey." I happily bit into the sweet, crisp apple, my heart brimming with joy. I was so happy I couldn't contain it. Just then, my phone buzzed. Stark picked it up, glanced at the notification, and raised an eyebrow at me. "Over $1 million in royalties just hit your account. And you told me you couldn't afford to treat your friends to dinner? Since when did little kids start lying like that?" I rubbed my temples, and suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my head. Eventually, I was discharged and finally back home. Everything was spotless. My mother-in-law had cleaned the whole place. Food was still warming on the stove. Every detail perfectly prepared. For some reason, my eyes stung. Ever since losing my birth parents, I'd felt abandoned by the world. But no, I'd been given a new life. They were my light in the darkness. "Oh dear, why's this little one crying again?" She came over and pinched my cheek gently. Stark glanced down at me with a teasing smirk. "Must be moved by all that old-fashioned love again." "Yep," I nodded. She smiled warmly. "I made that nourishing soup for you too today. Drink it, then get some rest early. I'm heading back. Got some potted plants at home waiting to be watered." Before leaving, she gave Stark a meaningful look and patted his shoulder. "Son, you know what to do. Keep trying." Ellipsis. That night, Stark held me as we fell asleep. He slept so deeply he even started snoring softly. After days of keeping vigil by my hospital bed, this was probably the first time he'd truly slept in peace. Watching his peaceful face, I suddenly remembered the photo on Taylor's phone. Jealousy flared up again. I immediately shook him awake. "Stark." Under the moonlight, he blinked awake, drowsy. "What's wrong? You still haven't explained. What's really going on between you and Taylor? Why did she have that photo of you in bed?" Stark laughed. "Is that all you're mad about? And you still claim you're not jealous?" He pulled out his phone and scrolled to Oliver's social post from that night. Boss got wasted today. Snapped a few pics while he was out. In the original photo, both Oliver and Taylor had taken a picture with Stark while he was passed out. But Taylor had cropped Oliver out, making it look like an intimate shot of just the two of them. Understanding dawned on me, and I felt a little embarrassed. Go back to sleep. Then. Sleep? After you wake me up like that, how am I supposed to sleep? Stark rolled over, pinning me beneath him. He pressed my wrists firmly against the headboard, trapping me in place. But you said you'd wait until I was fully recovered. He leaned down and silenced me with a kiss. His voice rough and low. That deal's void. He.